right, we're calling this meeting to order at 6:02. Approval of the minutes. I'm assuming we all read the minutes, right?
Yes. Motion to approve the minutes. Can I even do that? Because I wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so motion to approve the minutes from last month.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes as written and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? They're approved. Debbie, do we have any interested citizens tonight?
Oh, I didn't check, but we have, you don't want to talk, okay, nobody's.
Aw,
Should we make them talk anyways?
yes, we're gonna make you
Thanks for
talk.
joining us.
We miss you talking to us. New old business, so I gather we're gonna skip the memorial policy for
Well,
tonight?
I can give a little update on that.
Okay.
Sure. So, between the last meeting and now, I took a look at the memorial policy and I basically pulled in the information that Debbie had recommended for us to consider. I sent that information to my colleagues and we got a little bit of information back. Yes, I think it was yesterday and today. And going to try to take some of those recommendations and filter out where we're at. Ultimately, Robert has a plan on how that is going to potentially move forward. If you want to talk about that now, or we can talk about it next meeting.
Yeah, basically, we just need to kind of come up with a general census of what you guys are looking for with that. And then I'll give that to our legal department to review and put together a document, bring back to the board for approval. Let them kind of hash out the actual words, but definitely come across with what you guys are looking for, so.
So you're looking more for concepts, not
Yep.
specifically.
Yep.
So I
Then
think,
you can vote on it, and if you don't like it, we can look at it again, but pretty much they should come up with what you guys are looking for.
I had a question. Mr. Chair?
Yes.
May I go? Thank you. Under maintenance, it said maintenance of the landscaping at a tree donation site is a responsibility of the donor. I don't really think that's right. I think parks should do that. This is in, it's before section 4.
Don't have that in front of me right this second. That's our current language.
Well, or on the worksheet that Matt produced.
so Wayne, I can make it, I'll make a note of that and I can highlight that as a section we want to look at. Maybe for some additional language and stuff like that. But we're not necessarily in deliberation or discussion on those at the time that I know of. I think, was that as part of this stuff additional text to be considered or which?
That was,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. I
Yeah,
also,
so this is additional text, so anything below that is,
oh, okay. Okay, so,
so I don't necessarily know that we're making a recommendation tonight. I think the three of us are still gonna work together to try to ultimately come up with, I think, some of our suggested text. I think that this is just, what I put in there was really extracting the stuff that Debbie had made recommendations of. But noting that you have an issue with section 4, I got that. And so what I can do is I'll just put a comment in there.
4 and 5,
Yeah, I got your email on that,
and
yeah.
then the maintenance.
Okay. So that's consistent with what you said in your email then, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we can work with that. And I think you and Mike and I can kind of flesh a little bit more of that out and be ready to come back with, I think, a more solid conceptualization by next meeting and.
I would
we'll get
agree
it.
with that.
And Debbie, do you want me to filter any recommendations through you to send out to the Parks Board in preparation for?
When you get to something that you feel like is ready for them to look at, yes, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so we'll do that. And once the three of us are generally on the same page, we'll get it out to Debbie and then we'll send it out to Parks Board.
Good,
So probably be very prepared to talk about this more in detail next month.
good.
Okay, before we move on, I'd like to introduce our new board member, Jeff Sargent. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, thank you. Moved here with my wife about a year and a half ago from the McMinnville area. So was quite involved in the community there. We lived there for about 12 years, and really appreciate where we are here in Kaiser. Live just off of Stats Lake, beautiful environment with lots of waterfowl and wildlife, and certainly appreciate that, and have gotten to know some of the other park facilities in the city since we've been here. And just recently completed the classroom and field study portion of the Oregon Master Naturalist Program, which is part of the reason why I want to be here with you to help shape the parks of Kaiser, my interest in conservation. So look forward to contributing in that way too.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, bike rack inventory. Wayne?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I took the liberty of visiting all 19 parks in Kaiser. Some of them are developed and some of them are not developed. And I went there with the intent of finding out if they have bike racks, and if so, what kind of bike racks and what the capacity of the bike racks are. So 10 of the 19 parks do have bike racks. There's 2 parks that don't have bike racks that are near swimming pools that do have bike racks that could be used for those 2 parks. Bike racks were different types. Some are double-sided toasters, some are single-sided toasters, some are 3-bumped U-shapes, 4-bumped U-shapes. If you take the number of bumps on a bike rack, the modern bike racks, and you add 1, that's how much capacity you have. Okay, so N+1. That applies to bicycles also.
The inventory is on the back of your agenda.
Last page of your... So we now have some baseline data of which parks have bike racks and what the capacity is. I did notice that one of them at a park, there's close to Willamette Manor Park is the Holiday Swim Club. They have a bike rack. It's a double-sided toaster, but it's up against the wall, which means it's effectively a one-sided toaster. And it's just not placed efficiently.
Yes, Robert?
Just something to keep in mind, those are private swim clubs. The city doesn't
Yep.
own those.
So the bike
as far
rack does
as-
not belong to us?
Correct.
But if people were going to the park, could they park a bike there?
I guess that'd be up to the swim club. I couldn't authorize that.
Could you explain what a toaster is?
Single-sided. A single toaster would be like this, chunk, 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 chunk. The double toaster would be like that, where you can go in
Okay.
from either side.
So the toaster's like, if you think about a toaster holding up a piece of toast,
Yeah.
basically. Okay.
And some of them have their bumps, U-shaped bumps. Those are the more modern style of bike racks, and they're more efficient for securing your bike. And I went over to Chalmer Jones right here near the skate park, and they do have a bike rack. Really had a chance to enjoy watching the skaters. It was a bright sunny day and lots of people enjoying the skate park. There was one set of grandparents. I started talking to them, and their grandson came down from somewhere up north, farther north, and to go to our skate park. So that was really cool. I noticed at Kaiser Rapids, there's a bike rack at the Kaiser Rotary Amphitheater. There's one at Walsh's Landing, but there's not one at the Big Toy.
There was one at the Big Toy. We had to remove it for the shade sale project so they could get their equipment into their front entry. And if you noticed, we have 3 asphalt patches in front that I actually have a paving company that's going to come make those formal repairs. Once those repairs are made to the entry pavement, then the bike rack will get put back.
Fantastic.
So it was a custom-built rack out of bike parts that was installed for the Big Toy initially. We just had to temporarily remove it. So you could add that to your list if you want.
Okay,
I think it holds 6, if I remember correctly.
I'm glad to hear that. And a lot of people use the big toy, and now they can ride their bikes. They can put their kid in the kid seat, or they can put the kid could ride their bikes, or put the kid in the trailer, little kids. So I'm really glad to hear that Kaiser Big Toy will have a bike rack too. That's all I have on that. Any questions?
Are there any parks that you think should have a bike rack that don't? Because I mean, there's clearly some that probably are fine without them, but are there any that are like, wow, this is a glaring omission?
That's a good question.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes, Robert?
Meadows Park, we have room for a bike rack, and we actually do have a bike rack that was donated that I was thinking about putting up there this winter sometime, now that we're starting to taper down on our busyness. So that park definitely deserves a bike rack, I think. It's
That was my first thought.
seen
was,
a
does Meadows
lot
have
of
one?
use this summer, lots of kids on bikes, so we have the room for it. I specifically designed the pathway up there and the paving to allow for that right there at the entry of the toy, so that's just on our agenda already, so.
Great.
Sunset Park does not have a bike rack. It feeds, you can get to the river, the Willamette River, and it'd be really great to ride your bike, park your bike and lock it up, and then go sit on the benches and enjoy the river, have a picnic.
Yeah.
So I would, to answer your question, I would say Sunset Park.
The one with Sunset, that's such an interesting entryway to that park that like bikes are hard to get in. I mean, it's not impossible. You just have to, it's not a straight shot.
Just
But,
rollers over the gate, just roll it over.
So would you want the bike rack to be in the park or outside so you park it and then walk in? I don't have a preference, but
There's limited space outside too. I mean,
Yeah.
basically
Right.
sidewalk and streets, so,
Right.
yeah.
That's correct. I think the only way to make that work well for more than maybe 2 bikes would be to put it on the interior of the park.
So yeah, I could recommend the interior there.
I don't have any more questions. I was just asking them. I don't have a goal.
Any other questions for Wayne? Or Robert? Okay.
So I do have one. So, I mean, the inventory is good. What is your objective from this inventory?
Well, it's baseline, just to find out where we're at. And then, as safe routes to schools and safe routes to parks, we could possibly put together something for safe routes to parks. If we could ask for a grant to add additional bike racks, perhaps.
So I think one of the other things that I'd go to is, I mean, generally, something like a bike rack may not necessarily be anticipated in the master plan, right? So there's not really a need to address that in the master plan. So if we wanted to put something like this on our prioritization list, as funding becomes available, we can certainly do so, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what I don't want to have happen is we have a list of stuff with no plan, right? So if we can, as we go into the next fiscal year and looking at maybe a year or whatever, or just as those things come along with grant opportunities and things like that, I mean, it'd be nice to have kind of a target to aim for versus just, this is really good work, and I think it's important that folks know. And who knows, as we look at park inventory information, things like that, this I think would be a fantastic resource to put out on the website and say, hey, here's the parks where you know that you can ride to right now, right? I don't want this just to be here for the sake of being here. So if maybe there's a way we can do that, I don't know, but.
Currently, each park has its own website with its list of amenities.
Right.
And so what I would recommend is that whoever takes care of the webpage, update each individual park with one more line saying, yes, there's a bike rack for that park. Or it could all, like where it is right now, it could be listed as a summary page if you want to see all of them all at the same time.
All right. Park reports. Mike?
So I actually went by yesterday afternoon after work, and it was pretty dark. Both parks looked okay as far as I could tell. I will tell you that I didn't walk into them though, so.
You have Clear Lake?
Clear Lake, which is a bunch of trees, and I know that work was being done on the couple trees that had the vandalism on them. I'm taking it by the time spring comes, they should be looking pretty good, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then I also have Meadows. And last time I went through Meadows, it looked fantastic. I'm guessing it still looks good, although,
Oh,
like
yeah,
I said,
yeah,
it was kind of
Meadows is
dark.
looking good.
I have a question on Clear Lake.
Okay,
As Clear Lake Park is right next to Clear Lake Elementary School,
yes.
and there's a field there. And I saw this field when I was doing my bike rack inventory. And I was wondering if that field does it belong to the school, or does it belong to the park, or is it a shared use?
Which field? In front of the trees, behind the trees?
Behind the trees.
In front of the trees?
West of the trees.
West of the trees.
There's a picture if you need, if you
So
want.
between the trees and the
Is
neighborhood.
that towards the
I think that land is, I believe, probably shared. I'd have to pull up the actual map, but,
I've got it right here.
oh, you have the map?
Yeah, I do. Not real
Showing
great,
the property line.
not real great pictures, but.
Shared.
It's an overview. It's really not a good picture, but. So my question is, if that's a shared field, could it be used for a soccer field? Or does it belong to the park?
Well, if it's in a park, it could be used as a soccer field. Parking, again, becomes an issue. It could be a walk-in site. We don't have any parking there, and I don't think we want to encourage people to park at the school. That could become an issue during school hours for sure. But it's something we can look into, definitely. Yeah, I'll check up on that and I can get back to you on,
Yeah, is it?
The property
So the
line.
question would be, is it shared or does it belong to the park?
just to confirm, west of the trees.
West, yes, west
Okay.
of the trees.
All right,
Robert, I think they used to play soccer there at one time.
really? Back
Yeah.
in the day?
It kind of
Okay.
looks like part of the field is like a softball field or baseball
Right.
on the north side, northwest
Mhm.
side, behind the school.
There's a
They-
walk path that goes through there somewhere.
Yes, and it's,
There's one over near the park, a walk path that goes through to the school.
But from looking at it real quick, there, where the section that you're talking about as far as the size goes, a soccer field would fit.
I haven't measured it.
Oh.
I haven't walked it yet, but I think it's big enough for a soccer field
Okay.
as an alternate location.
I don't believe that school has a soccer field at it, does it?
Yeah. Well, it's got the big,
Do they have a soccer?
yeah,
field?
they do,
They do.
on the north end.
I do believe we are digressing here.
Yeah, sorry.
All right,
No, we were talking about Clear Lake Park, and I was talking to the expert.
you're out of order. Clay,
I actually went by both parks about 6 weeks ago, and it was before I was actually put on the Parks Board. One of them had a fence around, like there was a lot going on, like a construction fence over at,
Northridge,
yeah,
that's an undeveloped park,
okay.
which probably would explain the fence.
Mr. Chair?
yes, Robert.
Was the fence up around which park? North?
You know what, like I said, 6 weeks ago, before I was even voted on, I wasn't sure which ones I was supposed to be on, so I kind of did some
Yeah.
deducing down and went by, anyway, so
We haven't
I'll
had-
have a more accurate
Okay.
report next month.
It's the month after.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Holland?
Yes, sir. Kaiser Little League. This time of year, not much happening up there, but we spend a lot of time cleanup up there with all the leaves. My, oh my. Wish we had a bag that we could, big machine that we can go by and pick up leaves. It's just unbelievable, some of these parks, how many leaves come down, like the amphitheater, all the hours. But it takes a lot of hours, just like at the Kaiser Little League complex, to pick up all the leaves. It's quite incredible the amount of time that needs to be done. this year, a big thing that's happening at the Kaiser Little League Complex is that they're going to end up bringing anywhere from 4 to 6 huge tournaments. And when I say huge tournaments, there'll be tournaments bigger than we've ever done there. Parking's probably going to be a problem. And I've been talking to Robert about that. I don't know, have you had a chance to talk to Bill anymore?
Yeah, I talked to him.
What do you think can be done about that?
There's a possibility we could park some cars down at the Mike Whittem
Right.
Park in the field area if it's worthy. I mean, it's not a developed park, so, you know, lower sedans might have some challenges with some of the unevenness. And staff would have to keep that grass mowed more regularly. Currently, it's mowed by a right-of-way mower that does all the tractor mowing throughout the city. So, you know, a closer examination of the terrain will tell us if we can maybe park some cars in there or not safely.
Right. Can we gravel that?
You want to gravel all of Mike Whittem Park?
A good part of it there, because some of it I think is going to need to be gravel because it's too wet even when it's not raining in the spring.
That'd be a lot bigger discussion.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is there a way you and me and Bill can get together? Can you set up a meeting?
Yeah.
And we'll go through that?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, we're talking a huge amount of teams that will be coming for this, and it's going to do a lot for the community. Like I said, it'd be 4 to 6 tournaments this year. Those will be baseball tournaments. They're trying to get softball tournaments, but the problem that they're having is they can't get umpires for that. There's a real shortage for the softball. So, but otherwise, that complex looks good and probably continue to look good.
What about Mike Witham?
Mike Witham,
Whittem.
not much happening down there right now, but they're going to start getting ready for the spring to plant stuff. I love that garden down there. People really take good care of that facility.
Thank you, Clint. Matt?
Yeah, so Chalmers Jones has been busy. Every time there's an opportunity for the skaters and the scooters and whatnot to be out there, they're out there and enjoying the work done. I have noticed more periodically we're seeing a little bit more homeless coming in, especially at night around the gazebo and kind of finding little nooks and crannies. I've reached out to Lieutenant Copeland about that, just kind of giving him a heads up. Actually, last month coming out of the Planning Commission meeting, there was somebody setting up camp on the backside of the gazebo, somebody else along the fence by the park shop, and then there was another person actually right out here in front of the cop shop in the bushes. And so just staying vigilant, making sure that people are being safe and we don't want to see anybody get hurt. And hopefully our excellent police department can help them get resources and things they need. But, you know, going back behind a couple times over the weekends and stuff and picking up trash is, it's becoming a little bit more apparent. But I know that our cops and public works staff are doing good trying to clean that up if they're seeing it and stuff. So Bob Newton, you know, just nice little gym there in the Gubbs area. Was out there actually a week or so ago with my son, just kind of walking through there and checking things out. And a couple people playing basketball. It's getting a lot of use, so definitely wet. So uses have changed some, but still good job. I mean, Robert and his group are staying on top of things and keeping things looking nice around here, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, you got something?
Yes. Well, you could hold it to other business. Staff report.
Yeah, just want to report on Willamette Manor Sports Court. The fence work down there is about 95% complete. They were hoping to finish last Friday. They just missed it by a little bit, so they're finishing that up this week. Just a couple small sections of chain link that still need to get hung, but other than that, we have a nice new black chain link fence around the court. We did reuse the vertical posts, but At a quick glance, you'd have no idea they're not brand new. So it looks very nice, very sharp. Look forward to seeing the surfacing of the court take place this spring. Speaking of homelessness, we've been having homeless problems at that park, believe it or not. It's kind of extremely rare for us to ever have homeless problems in that park that I've ever witnessed. Probably the last 2 weeks, we've been kicking people out. As a matter of fact, this Monday, came into work, got a phone call that there was a homeless camp set up in the playground. They took over the playground. They had stuff under the playground. They were sleeping on the playground. They had tarps over it. So Kaiser PD came down and helped us get them out of there. Of course, they left all kinds of fun stuff behind for us to pick up, but that's the name of the game nowadays. So yeah, definitely starting to feel the homeless issue with our staff hours in the cleanup process. And it's not something we can just take lightly. We have to take those situations very seriously, be very observant what we're touching, and dispose of things correctly. So, I don't know. Hope it doesn't continue to get any worse than it is. And lastly, we are keeping an eye on the Willamette River level. It's been extremely low. We generally speaking have our docks removed, the last 4 at the boat ramp at Kaiser Rapids. We usually have those removed by now. This year is different. We had one of the driest Novembers in a long time. River's supposed to come up a little bit this next week, but not enough to really do much about. So I don't know. We may not be taking the floats out this year. I have no idea, but we're keeping an eye on that, and our crew will jump on that if we get the opportunity. So that's what I got.
Thank you, Robert. Roland is not here today, so we'll skip the council liaison. Other business, Wayne.
I'd like to thank Robert for taking care of some graffiti that was found at Country Glen Park. The new exercise machine had some graffiti on it, so I took a picture of it and I sent it to Robert. Went back a few days later and that graffiti's been removed. So thank you, Robert.
You can thank Mr. Herrera. He actually removed that before we had an opportunity to. So I'd like to
Thank
take
you,
the credit for it,
Councilor
but not gonna.
Herrera. That's it.
That's it? Yes, Matt.
So a follow-up item from last meeting, Wayne has been a pretty consistent advocate for soccer. We did not approve the grant last meeting, and I think there were some conditions following that. One of the commitments I made to Wayne was trying to follow up and get some more information about that. So I sent a poll out to folks in the greater Gupser area with 4 questions. One, did you know that Country Glen had a soccer field? If new goals were placed at the field, would you and your family and friends use them? How often would you use them? And what time of year would be the best time to have these goals available for use? So it was kind of split. The sample size was not huge. Facebook polling allows you to get to like 40 responses before you have to pay like $60. And I'm not a soccer guy, so I wasn't going to pay $60 selfishly. But I think the data is still a good sample in terms of the amount of people and everything. It was split 50-50 between people that knew it was there and didn't. But overwhelming support for the use of goals. Most people said that they would use it either daily or on a kind of as needed basis, but or would want to use them if they were installed since they didn't know about them. And then most actually suggested year round. I think that the weather kind of precludes that a little bit because Country Glen does get very soggy, but certainly looking at that spring through fall timeframe, which is more, I think, weather permitting, is appropriate. And so with that, I think that gives Wayne some additional resources to do what he wants to do if he wants to do with the grant, or there's potential other conversations we can have later on. But I wanted to follow up with that as promised. I sent the results to Wayne and I think he was pleased. Interestingly enough, though, it did actually spark up a conversation with the Kaiser Soccer Club. I don't know what it is. I had 3 or 4 people reach out to me on Facebook and ask me a bunch of questions about it. and they were interested in trying to pursue other avenues for soccer within the city. Not the subject matter expert. So I said, let me get your information, and they said they'd be happy to kind of support in some of those processes. So if you want those names, you can probably talk to them if you want them to help your process in getting money or whatever, or however that's going to work out. But so it was nice to get that information out there. One gal said, we're huge soccer fans. We actually didn't know those were soccer goals or other, that it was like lacrosse or something else like that when they saw them, and I don't know anything about lacrosse either. So they were happy to know about it and look forward to hopefully seeing something else in terms of opportunities. So the last thing, and I've been promoting this a lot in the last week, there's been a lot of folks on social media saying they don't know how to get involved in our city. They don't know how to, participate in public discussions or come to these meetings or what have you. On both Kaiser pages, the community page and then the normal or the other Kaiser page, I posted a link to the email sign up where you can go in, you can sign up for different boards and commissions and council notices. I highly recommend that if you've got folks that have talked to you and want to be aware and want to be part of that, go onto the website on kaiser.org, find a link to get involved and sign up for it. It's a little bit of work for Tracy and Debbie to sort of add folks into that, but once you're in, and you get the emails on everything, or follow the Kaiser Facebook page, and just keep involved, or drive up and down Schmalway because they're posting the meeting notices and stuff on our electronic messaging center right out front. So there's a lot of issues coming up. If you don't know, call the general number, say, hey, I want to know how to know information about the city of Kaiser, and they'll get you in the right place. So just a little soapbox on that one, but that's all I got, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Any other business?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I was absent at the last meeting, and I understand I've been assigned to the Sunset in the Northview Terrace Park. I didn't know if you wanted an update now, or should I wait till the next opportunity?
Well, it's not on this, next month, is it not, Debbie?
They alternate every other month.
Every other month?
Yeah, so yours will be up on the next, on
Okay.
the agenda in January.
Very good. I have visited those recently, so I had some thoughts with that, but I'll share some with Robert and report it at the next meeting.
Well, you can report it to Robert anytime.
Right.
Any other? Hey, we got it here early. Stand adjourned at 6:34.